Si Manda?
Ano? Ha?
Ay, magtago ka.
Ano? Bakit? Hener? Hener? Namiss mo ba ako?
Bakit ang may girl, Lalo?
May number 2 ka.
Wala, Han. Wala akong number 2.
Number 2?
Oo. Saan yung sinasabi mong number 2?
Sorry, Han.
Talong number 2 sa number 1.
Celso, laya ka na.
Ang dami na nagbago sa mundo. Buti ka pa, hindi ka nagbabago.
Ay, salamat! Laya na rin ako!
Sino ka?
Ako si Jennifer, ang iyong genie. Mag-wish ka, Celso! Gusto mo ba ng food? How about drinks? Gusto mo ba ng travel abroad? Gusto mo ba ng girls? O baka boys? Joke! Anong gusto mo?
Gusto kong bumata uli. Bumalik sa panahong 20 years ago.
Masusunod. Eto ka.
Bumata uli ako! Bakit nakakulong uli ako? Bumalik nga ako ng 20 years ago.
Voice and Bug Off is a new water-based anti-insect paint scientifically proven to kill disease-causing insects. When insects get in contact with the painted surface, the inert microscopic crystals set in the paint's layer attack the nervous system of insects, while humans remain unharmed. Voice and Bug Off is safe for humans. It's non-toxic and non-invasive, each coat lasting up to 2 years. Voice and Bug Off.
Oikos started in 1984 in Italy. First thing they had in mind was to create an industrial product that's sustainable and healthy for the environment. When Oikos produces their materials, they make sure there are no solvents that are harmful to humans. They take out the formaldehyde that usually seen in some of the paint products that you see out there. They're also, by the way, certified by HACCP with an A+ grading. So it says a lot about the products that Oikos produces. This is an example of our Carmen Ipeto Moire finish. It does give a little bit of that iridescent finish or sheen that you see, so it really livens up any space. The Travertino Romano, on a very industrial look finish. You can put this in a very high traffic area, such as hallways, stairwells, because it has the abrasion resistant as well as the impact resistant. This is another product line that we have called Encanto. This is a sandy metallic finish which has different kinds of potential textures that you can recreate. As an accent piece, it's actually a great finish material to use. They believe in the LCA, the life cycle assessment, right from the procurement of the material. How it's going to be manufactured safely, how it's going to be distributed to the seller and then to the end user, and all the way up to even removing the paints eventually and recycling them and reusing them. So the full 360 is what Oikos really considers, and that's what makes it sustainable. I'm inviting anybody who's very interested in using Oikos. Please visit us here in LRI Design Plaza. And you also may visit our website, www.oikos-paint.ph.
Si Wanda? Ano? Ha? No? Magtago ka.
Ano? Bakit? Ener? Haner? Namiss mo ba ako?
Bakit ang may girl, lalo?
May number 2 ka.
Wala, Han. Wala akong number 2.
Number 2?
Oo. Saan yung sinasabi mong number 2?
Sorry, Han.
Talong number 2 sa number 1.
Celso, laya ka na.
Ang dami na nagbago sa mundo. Buti ka pa, hindi ka nagbabago.
Ay, salamat! Laya na rin ako!
Sino ka?
Ako si Jennifer, ang iyong genie. Mag-wish ka, Celso! Gusto mo ba ng food? How about drinks? Gusto mo ba ng travel abroad? Gusto mo ba ng girls? O baka boys? Joke! Anong gusto mo?
Gusto kong bumata uli. Bumalik sa panahong 20 years ago.
Masusunod. Eto ka.
Bumata uli ako! Bakit nakakulong uli ako? Bumalik ka ng 20 years ago.
Voice and Bug Off is a new water-based anti-insect paint scientifically proven to kill disease-causing insects. When insects get in contact with the painted surface, the inert microscopic crystals set in the paint's layer attack the nervous system of insects, while humans remain unharmed. Voice and Bug Off is safe for humans. It's non-toxic and non-invasive, each coat lasting up to 2 years. Voice and Bug Off.
Oikos started in 1984 in Italy. First thing they had in mind was to create an industrial product that's sustainable and healthy for the environment. When Oikos produces their materials, they make sure there are no solvents that are harmful to humans. They take out the formaldehyde that usually seen in some of the paint products that you see out there. They're also, by the way, certified by HACCP with an A+ grading. So it says a lot about the products that Oikos produces. This is an example of our Carmen Epeto Moire finish. It does give a little bit of that iridescent finish or sheen that you see, so it really livens up any space. The Travertino Romano, on a very industrial look finish. You can put this in a very high traffic area, such as hallways, stairwells, because it has the abrasion resistant as well as the impact resistant. This is another product line that we have called Encanto. This is a sandy metallic finish which has different kinds of potential textures that you can recreate. As an accent piece, it's actually a great finish material to use. They believe in the LCA, the life cycle assessment, right from the procurement of the material. How it's going to be manufactured safely, how it's going to be distributed to the seller and then to the end user, and all the way up to even removing the paints eventually and recycling them and reusing them. So the full 360 is what Oikos really considers, and that's what makes it sustainable. I'm inviting anybody who's very interested in using Oikos. Please visit us here in LRI Design Plaza. And you also may visit our website, www.oikos-paint.ph.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the UAP Makati Chapter's General Members Meeting. Before we formally kick off the event, let's just take a look at how to work our Zoom interfaces with the help of a couple of members from the Chapter Committee for Information Dissemination. Please help me welcome Architect Sofia Eusebio and Architect John Ray Luzuriaga.
Before we head straight to today's events, let's take you on a quick tour of your Zoom interface.
On the lower left corner of your screen, you will see a microphone icon. Make sure that it's always on mute. However, you may unmute it once it is allowed by the host during the Q&A segment.
Next to it is the video icon, which you can click to turn your camera on or off. Note that you must keep your cameras on, especially on group photos.
If you must turn your videos off during the sessions, make sure that your profile photo is a clean and decent photo of you.
The participants icon allows you to see the list of all participants in your assigned Zoom room.
If you must send messages to co-participants, click the chat icon. Select Send to Everyone if you'd like to message them in public, or send a private message by clicking the name of the person you want to send a direct message to.
Lastly, you may click the reaction button, which allows you to display reactions like applause, thumbs up, or love. Now that you know your Zoom interface, let us now proceed to the online event guidelines.
To avoid any inconvenience during the program, please take note of the following reminders.
Use only the official virtual background.
Make sure that you are using a device that supports Zoom application in a well-lit and quiet room, free from distractions.
For a seamless online experience, it is ideal to have an internet connection not lower than 10 Mbps.
Make sure that your camera is working, and don't forget to smile. It is advisable to check your audio, video, and mic beforehand.
In the unlikely event that you get disconnected, just click the event link again to re-enter.
Again, make sure that your microphone is muted throughout the event, unless you are prompted or allowed to speak.
This is it, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Let's gear up and enjoy the rest of the event.
I am Ray Luzariaga.
And I'm Sofia Eusebio. Welcome to UAP Makati Chapter.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome your Master of Ceremonies for tonight's meeting, Architect Raya Zamudio.
All right, so thank you very much for that, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to this fiscal year's 4th General Membership Meeting of the United Architects of the Philippines Makati Chapter. So a very happy new year to us all, and we hope you're all well, safe, and healthy. Now, we have an exciting topic for you tonight. For one CPD point, we get to listen to none other than Architect Ed Calma as he talks about innovation and design. And not only that, we also have amazing raffle prizes this evening to be given away by our generous sponsors: Boysen, Kuisen, DMCI Homes, Otis, Adaptive Luxor Solutions, Metalink, Parex, Lixil, iApps Automation, and of course, Lutron. Ayan. So please be sure to fill out the evaluation form to be posted later in the Zoom chat, which will serve as your attendance and raffle entry. So also, to those of you who are registered in Zoom, an assessment test will be sent to your email tomorrow to qualify for the CPD point. Ayan. And lastly, for our final reminder to all of our attendees, please be sure to rename your Zoom IDs using the following format. For UAP Makati chapter members, that's UAPMC_surname in all caps, comma your given name and middle initial. So for example, that's UAPMC_Zamudio, comma Raya C. And for guests attending this event, please put UAP guest _surname followed by your given name and middle initial. And so this will help with our team's documentation. Now, ayan, so finally, to begin, may we please invite everyone to join us for our opening ceremonies.
Ladies and gentlemen, This is the UAP Harmony Prayer, the Philippine National Anthem, the UAP March, and the Architect's Credo. We enjoin everyone to sing and recite, in unison.
O Lord, we cry for peace. Purify our eyes to see peace. Purify our minds to understand peace.
Linisin niyo ang aming puso upang mahalin ang kapayapaan. Linisin niyo ang aming diwa upang maabot ang kapayapaan.
Ang kapayapaang nagmumula sa iyong pagmamahal at pag-unawa.
O Ginoo, palig-una ang among pananaw sa kalinaw. Giniyahan sa imong inspirasyon. Bisan og aduna kay daghang pamaagi sa pagpadayeg sa imong presensya, ang estilo nimo kanunay. Kay ikaw mipadayon sa imong pakigsulti kanamong tanan. Kanunay kang nagatiman kanamong tanan.
Ramidan nakam o apo, apagilasinan ti kapyam, nagbibiyag akan kanayon, amakipatpatang ken ka.
Sa pagintiende sang imo pagkahipos kag presensya, sa paagi sang istoryahanay sa amon nga kaugalingon para matukiban namon ang buot silingon sang kabuhi.
Ing pakipagtalamitam karing aliwa, ban misulong king masampat aparalan ding sabla.
Tawi kami sa muyang kagurangnan, nin kusog tanganing mabuhay sa pag-urolay, sa tahaw nin pagkabaranga asindai pagkakasirinabutan.
And to build peace with all people of sincere hearts who believe in love and compassion. Amen.
shall work with this general objective, that I am accountable to God, to Mother Earth, to my country, to my fellow men, and to myself. I shall uphold the ideals and follow the norms and ethical conduct of this noble profession. I shall pursue moral and professional excellence to the utmost level of integrity, through industrious dedication and meaningful application to my work that merits a reputation for quality of services worthy of fair remuneration. I shall pledge myself to the highest standard of professionalism in relation to clients, colleagues, industry partners, and society. I shall dedicate myself to the pursuit of creative endeavor towards the goal of enlightened art and science, generously sharing it. I shall respect the rights and works of my colleagues in the profession and confine my comments to constructive intents. I shall endeavor to do my duty in the protection of our common environment and the preservation of architectural heritage for the sake of the present and future generations. So help me God.
All right, so once again, to all of our attendees, kindly rename your Zoom IDs using the format indicated in the Zoom chat. So also to all of our participants, please fill out the evaluation form, which will serve as your attendance and raffle entry. So the link will be posted in the Zoom chat room after the talk. And also to those of you who are registered in Zoom, an assessment test will be sent to your email tomorrow to qualify for the CPD point. And ayan, so now to introduce our guest speaker, please join me in welcoming UAP Makati Chapter Director for Internal Affairs, Architect Lito V. Tabuldan. Sorry, my apologies. We will begin welcoming remarks of our chapter president. So please join me in welcoming UAP Makati Chapter President, Architect Luis Nicanor Villaguirre IV, FUAP AA.
Pleasant evening to everyone, especially to our dear chapter members and past chapter presidents, our guests from fellow UAP chapters, our wonderful partners, of course, our amazing guest speaker and moderator. Isang maligayang bagong taon sa ating lahat. Welcome to UAP Makati's 4th GMM. 2022 stands before us like a blank canvas, waiting to be painted on. A fresh start this January, despite the challenges we've encountered so far with COVID. We'd like to start filling out the canvas with hopefulness and optimism for the year ahead. With that, our theme for this talk is Onward, Thinking Future Innovations. We're all excited to have with us today a very special guest speaker, Architect Ed Calma, who will share his lecture on innovation. He's a family to us in Makati chapter. Tito Lor is a close friend of our beloved national artist, the late Tatay Luksing. Our desire is for us to have meaningful conversations and develop a positive outlook for our profession. So without further delay, please allow me to officially open the 4th Arquivivo GMM of UAP Makati. Diyos mabalos, viva arkitektura!
Thank you very much, Architect Titus, for that very warm welcome. Now, we'd also like to take this time to acknowledge a few of our distinguished guests. So, with us today is a few of our past chapter presidents, namely Architect Philip Recto and our immediate past chapter president, Architect Simon Cervantes. So we also welcome our other UAP Makati chapter past presidents who will be joining us later. Also, may I acknowledge our guest speaker, Architect Ed Calma, and our moderator, Architect Jared Lico. We'd also like to thank our media partner, It's Happening PH, and our generous sponsors. So again, thank you everyone for coming and welcome. All right, so once again, to all of our attendees, please rename your Zoom IDs using the format indicated in the Zoom chat. So this is for the purpose of our chapter's documentation. All right, now without further ado, to introduce our guest speaker, once again, please join me in welcoming UAP Makati Chapter Director for Internal Affairs, Architect Lito V. Tabuldan.
Thank you, Ms. Raya. For tonight's event, our guest speaker is a multi-awarded architect known for designing luxury homes in upscale communities in the Philippines. He was awarded the 10 Most Outstanding Young Men Award for the Architecture in 2002 for his contribution to the Philippine contemporary architecture. This award was last given to the national artist in architecture, Leandro Locsin, in 1959. His practice in Philippines in his father's firm, Lor Calma and Partners, challenges institutional, commercial, and residential programs and experimenting on architectural forms through a rigorous design processes. He was educated at Pratt Institute, New York City, in which he graduated high honors in 1988. In 1984, he spent a year in Italy studying Roman architecture history, in which he worked with Peter Pran, Carlos Zapata in New York City from 1989 to 1995, in which they received several architecture awards from the American Institute of Architects in New York for the firm Lerb Beckett. He won the AIA National Design Award exhibition for the National Academy of Design in New York in 1988, and in 1991, he won the AIA New York Chapter Design Award exhibition for the Jewish Museum in New York City. In 1993, he received the Progressive Young Architects Award in New York City for his design contribution in the firm. In 1995, he graduated Masters of Architecture in Advanced in Architectural Design from Columbia University. He won 2 gold medal awards for Philippine Pavilion in Expo 2005, in Aichi, Japan, and in Expo 2008 in Zaragoza, Spain. 3 of his buildings, the Mind Museum, the De La Salle College of St. Bened School of Design and Arts, and the UP Manila Museum of a History of Ideas, were among the 20 designs nominated for the Haligi ng Dangal Awards by the National Commission on Culture and the Arts. Fellow architects, guests, it is my honor and privilege to introduce to you our guest speaker for tonight, Architect Jose Eduardo G. Calma, UAP.
Thank you, Lito, for that introduction. Thanks to Titus for inviting me to this event. It's always an honor to share my work, and also it's a privilege to kind of share ideas in this kind of forum. So tonight I'll just be kind of sharing the work we're currently doing in the firm, and a little bit of some projects that my dad did 40 years ago, because some of those ideas that he did are still kind of relevant today, in terms of establishing regional identity, sustainability, preservation of place, preservation of character of place, and building innovation, of course, and creativity, his own personal creativity. So let's start with the first slide. Yeah. So this project is, this is my dad's house in New Manila. I remember, moving into this house, and it was just an open space. So this project was like located in a creek, and there were like rocks there, boulders actually. And just interviewing my dad on this project, it was still very clear, and this was just recently, on his intent, his design intent. He wanted to keep the boulders in place, intact. He didn't want to move it and work the house around it. And there was a creek, on the side that he found a lot of rocks, and then he kind of integrated those stones into the house just to keep that kind of character of that place, sort of, become the character of the house as well, right? So, and coming into this house, actually there's no door, there's no main door into the house. You come through a door from the street, and you enter through the garden first, through a covered walkway, and you enter the house through sliding doors. And I remember as a child, this is always open. It's never closed. The whole day it was open. And the cylindrical, he made a cylindrical court inside the house that had like vegetation, and it was also open on the roof to allow ventilation to happen through all throughout the house. So in a way, it's also like a visual hinge from the garden to the inside of the house. It's a bungalow, and if you can see in the video, there was no formal geometry to the house. I mean, he kind of designed this knowing what kind of experience he wanted, right? So he kind of opened, shaped the house facing the pool. And he elevated the house so that he knows that there's a creek, and annually we would experience flood, but the flood would only go at a certain level of the pool, right? And we would always kind of look forward to the flood because there would always be fishes on the pool after. Because at that time, this was 1965. The creek was still clear. And it was still very lush in that area, a lot of trees and open air. So this next project, the Cancho Calma and Philippine School of Interior Design, as you guys know, he founded interior design. So he worked partnered with the mother of Buji, Mrs. Layug, and the uncle of Buji to form Cancho Calma, one of the biggest furniture manufacturing firm and design firm, and also Philippine School of Interior Design, which is taught also here on the second floor. And the first floor was the showroom, and the factory was in the back. So, and they needed the showroom right away, right? So this project was actually done in 30 days, assembled in 30 days. It was the structure is made of precast columns and precast joists and precast panels done by D.M. Consunji, right? And it was, of course, prefabricated a month or so, and it was just all assembled on site. And it was one of the first curtain wall buildings in the country. I mean, literally, there were like huge pieces of glass, 3 meters by 6 meters, that were hung from the ceiling. And one of the first buildings that addressed the edge of the site from the street, creating a moat. And a very distinct approach to the showroom, right? Very innovative. I remember going there as a kid, and I would always run across the bridge from the street to the office, and there would be sounds coming out from under the water from just walking on the ramp. So I don't know if he did it intentionally, but it created an incredible sound as you walk through the walkway. I remember it really well because I would play, after school in the office. And okay, this last project of his, not really last, but it's the last house he did, which I included, and I thought it was good to kind of include the first house and the last house, and they're kind of the bookends of his career, right? And he was very consistent with his ideas. With the Forbes house, there were a lot of calachuchi trees on site, and again, he didn't want to touch these trees. They were like 30-year-old trees, and he just worked around those trees, and created a sort of party that started from an atrium in the middle of this property, and all the spaces were kind of organized as a pinwheel around the central atrium space. And from there, he didn't use glass just to be modern, but he used glass as an intent to see the surrounding calachuchi trees from the interior. And in turn, the calachuchi trees were kind of curtains for that glass atrium. And one innovation of this house was he elevated the whole house by 600 millimeters above the floor. That created these wind tunnels underneath the house that channeled through crevices underneath the floor and through slots in the wall. So that created a cross ventilation through a kind of modernist language, right? So I mean, he adopted international style modernism that was, I guess, going on he's during his first few years in his career, and adapted it throughout his career, but injected and anchored that kind of design language to the Philippines by adding culturally relevant elements of Philippine architecture, like kapis windows, and wrought iron works done by local craftsmen, and of course Philippine artists. And he did, since he's a furniture designer, he's also an accessories designer, an interior designer. He did everything. I mean, from the architectural details all the way to furniture. And these furnitures are still with him. We still have it. Really well made. They were done 20 years ago, and it's still very of high quality up to now. So he's sort of an embodiment of what an architect and designer should be. That he's an architect, landscape architect, interior designer, furniture designer, sculptor, visual artist, furniture designer, and jewelry designer. He designed jewelry for Hans Brumann in the 70s and 80s. So, and what these kind of lessons that I learned from just being with him and being in the house, every time he kind of talks to me about ideas, talks to me about this process, even if I was not interested as an architect then. But I guess that was his own way of subliminally kind of convincing me to be an architect later on. So this last project, which he did for Senator Angara, it's his memorial chapel in Baler. Ms. Angara called him, not me. He's already like 93 when she called, and he's already retired. But Ms. Angara called him, and she wanted him to design Senator Angara's memorial chapel. So of course, my dad, 93, he still wanted to go to Baler, go to 5 hours away, 6 hours away, look at the site of where the chapel would be, and just experience the place, right? And from there, and after coming back, I never saw him for a couple of days, and one evening, he showed up, and he came up with a bent metal form. He probably took it from the model making room in the back of the office, and came up with this form. And he was very set on what material he wanted, which is copper, because he wanted, since the area was just full of trees, he wanted the chapel to kind of blend with the environment, the trees. So the copper would eventually tarnish, right, and become green later on, and it would just be kind of consumed by the forest. Next slide. Yeah, this is like another view. So we worked on this form, and he positioned it on the site. On a model of the site, and from there we structured the form. Next, please. Yeah. So the interior is all wood, and the exterior is all copper. So Senator Angara had a lot of wood, from that which he got from the mountain, the Sierra Madre Mountains. Baler was surrounded by the Sierra Madre, and there were lightning strikes, every thunderstorm, and there would be trees that would fall from the lightning strikes. And Senator Angara would collect all these woods, keep it in the storage, and where this chapel is, and he just collected all these years. So he has a lot of stocks of these lightning struck wood, and we use this to line all the interior of the chapel, and to make the furniture for the chapel. Next. It's another view. So this is a memorial chapel. So it's situated on their residential property in Baler, Aurora, and so we worked with a landscape architect here, created these sort of experiences before going to the chapel of what Senator Angara kind of went through as a child, as a senator, and what he did to the country, and sort of abstractly, translated it to a landscape. Next. So these are Corten steel walls that kind of held landscape, but these walls would have inscriptions of some of the sayings and some of the texts he wrote in books, famous sayings of Senator Angara. Next. And there's this contemplative, meditative pond, which he sort of loved as a kid and as a senator, being contemplative before deciding on things and working out things. He's a very cerebral person, Senator Angara. So this space was kind of a space that represented that kind of character of him. And then finally the chapel at the end. Next. So these trees are existing on site, and we've never touched the trees, and we added more trees to the site to make it lusher. Next. And most of the trees are endemic of Baler. It's amazing how many trees that we don't know anything about, which are endemic to the Philippines, and they're all found in the Sierra Madre Mountains. It's an amazing place. Next. Next slide. Yeah. So our work currently is no different from how he approaches design. I don't know why I had to go to school for it when I could have gotten everything from my dad, right? But we work closely with the site. We work most of the ideas that we come up with are actually kind of a study of the site, knowing the nuances, limitations of the site, and drawing out ideas from the site itself. This, for example, we call it the split level house. Has two lots side by side, and one lot is lower than the other. So we thought that we would not alter the topography of the site, but let it kind of be as is, and then work the house with the topography, right? And so we never excavated. We never excavated in this site. It's always on following the slope of the topography. So that created that split level. So you don't have to go one flight of stairs to go up to another level, but it created a lot of levels, and they kind of created a new artificial kind of landscape growing out from the topography. Next. So these levels would just be always a half story up vertically. And since it's open to the sea, it's just a flat slab concrete system. And we literally took advantage of how the stairs go from one level to the other. And that's what we used to articulate the facade of the house, and inserted the spaces in between. So we didn't actually work on this on a plan level, but we actually worked on this on a 3D software, and manipulated the forms in 3D. No plan. So the site is situated perfectly. It can get wind from both the northeast and southwest orientations. And we wanted to make the house feel that you experience the topography first, and then you kind of go up in different levels across different spaces, and you end up being on the roof with a roof garden. So pretty much like an extension of the topography itself. And the character of the interior, since the place had a combination of volcanic rock and sand, that's what we used as material also to articulate the interior, to make the house sort of anchored to the site, to maintain the character of the site as in its materiality. Okay, so this next project, number 2 Jupiter, is the Kuisen showroom, which is one of your sponsors. And this particular site is interesting because it's at the end of Jupiter Street, right? And it's a corner property. And as you know, Kuisen is a multi-brand store, and we wanted to define the per floor with a particular brand or a couple of brands. So that's the kind of starting off idea of the project, just from the program, and we just simply splayed off each floor at the edges. Since it's a corner, we kind of wanted to release the corner, since the corner didn't have any kind of buildings that kind of restricted it. So it gave us an opportunity to kind of splay the two edges and created a distinction between floors. And that created sort of a different corner condition than sort of shaving it at 45 degree. Okay, so Liberty Tower was a project that it was a study we did for the Litton family, who owned a property on Shaw Boulevard. It was I think it's still currently a shopping mall, and they wanted to know the possibilities of what can be done on the site, and you know, as an architect in the city, you know, and we fly out, and we always see the city kind of developing, and all these green spaces are kind of getting erased from all this development, and I kind of worry about that, right? So we're eliminating all our green spaces, and the problem mostly with developments is it isolates neighborhoods. You know, it creates these sort of borders that isolate neighborhoods. This is a sample of an aerial view of our city now, where there's a lack of green spaces, and I feel as an architect and that it's important that we push urban space, urban green space, to be integrated with any development. It's not about just, you know, maximizing space to maximize return on income, but there should be ways of integrating landscape and nature in the urban environment. And our building code sadly doesn't address any of these, right? It's just, you know, setbacks, height restrictions, you know, fire codes, but it doesn't address energy conservation, or urban design, none of that. So it's I felt it was my initiative to put out ideas, new ideas. I don't care whether I win it or not, right? But it's important that these ideas are just thrown out on the table. Next. So Shaw, this is Shaw Boulevard now. It's all you know, it's all buildings on the street, along the street. So next. So this is the site. So in the site, you have a residential neighborhood in the lower left hand here, and Shaw is, of course, on the long side of the property in the middle, and then you have all these commercial developments on the side, right? So so we get to study the surrounding neighborhoods, and see what the potential, what this development how it could potentially link neighborhoods and create create stitches to include neighborhoods, right, rather than isolate neighborhoods. Next. So this is the site. You see Shaw Boulevard as the long axis line here, and right beside it is Bishop's residence, which is the only green patch on that site. So we thought of kind of bringing the green from that to the site. Next. And you know, the program was, you know, still to create a retail space and also parking space. So we thought of um, building it, right? Maximizing the property and creating a road system inside the property to alleviate the traffic on Shaw. Next. And carving out a space where the public can actually come in to the development as a part, right? Next. And placing a park on top of the whole built up space. Next. And terracing the mall to create these garden walkways along the mall, instead of like a built up mall, air conditioned inside without any kind of green space. We wanted to create this exterior type of mall experience from the outside. Next. And putting the towers and puncturing the towers through these parks, so it creating a kind of green space, and the neighborhood in the back can sort of benefit from the park, so they're able to like go through this park from their side. Next. Yeah. Again, we got this other study to study this area that's owned by the Sacred Heart Diocese offices. Next. It's in Camagong Street and Sacred Heart Street. Currently, there's a chapel, there's a church there, and there's a park, right? But they use it for parking. And there's another property beside it, blocked by two buildings of the convent, of the church, sorry. So what we did was to kind of propose to demolish the old buildings there and create a parking underneath this whole site. And next, and put a park on top of it, and and build their offices and columbarium. So these offices contain, of course, the offices of the diocese, and a place where they can park their carrozas, and a theater for archdiocese meetings, yearly meetings. And the park would be used as as a religious festivals, where the carrozas can actually be parked outside, and create a sort of ring of carrozas where people could kind of pray every, like a Station of the Cross kind of thing along this part. Yeah, this is just a rundown of all the spaces wanted to put in. But the idea here is to these buildings sort of created a space by sort of blocking out other buildings in that area, kind of visually creating a court around the park. Next. You can see the columbarium made of onyx. So at night, this would be, the light inside would be always on, and this would illuminate the whole park, and it becomes a memorial for all the people who have passed away. Next. Next. Yeah, so that's the columbarium made of onyx with a chapel inside on the first level, and there will be sort of ramping around this sort of interior court where all the niches are located, and it's covered by a copper roof on top that allows just fresh air to go through, and it's a naturally ventilated columbarium. There's a view inside. So with a sort of a tree inside or planting. And it's designed for handicap, so you don't have to like kind of take the elevator to go up through that series of ramps. Okay, so this next project is a bridge in Serendra, which Ayala asked us to do. Of course, we never had experience in bridges, but they asked us to design one. I thought that's the engineer's job, but I just wanted to I always show this project because I know there's like a kind of debate between architects and engineers now, like the engineers wanting to sign our documents, right? But people don't know what architects really do, right? They think engineers can also do it, but I think this bridge kind of gives an example that why architects need to sign the documents and more than for architecture, right? Of course, the engineers would help us design it, but we would kind of design it differently from a typical engineer, right? So as you see, the pedestrian bridges now, they're mostly like stairs on the side, right? Or an elevator. So this particular bridge, since we have a huge area to play with, we were able to like bend the bridge so that you'd be able to access the bridge by ramps, handicap ramps, instead of elevators or escalators. Actually, Ayala had included an elevator and escalator in their program, but I saved them the cost of an elevator and escalator, and by bending the bridge towards the two ends and created a kind of covered bridge, it kind of made a kind of space inside that could be used for event. And the animation didn't work here before, but I don't know what happened. But it's supposed to kind of light up. So there would be sensors along this bridge that would activate every time you walk on it. And it would activate a certain light to illuminate a certain panel randomly. So I don't know if it's working now, but this bridge was bidded by e-bidding. So I don't know who actually did it, but it was supposed to be designed as an interactive bridge where kids can kind of go through, run around, and they would try to activate a panel. And then in the end, from the exterior, the bridge would kind of become an event, like an attraction for passerbys. Okay, so we were commissioned by again, Senator Angara, before he passed away, to design the Balair Airport. It was he loved Balair. He did so much for Balair, and this was one of the last projects he wanted. He unfortunately he passed away, but we wanted to continue his vision, and it's kind of difficult to kind of design airports. I mean, an architect designing an airport locally, because the way the bidding is set up in government, it's impossible for a local designer architect to kind of design a local airport, because CAAP, the agency in charge of airports, they do the design themselves, right? So we had to think of a way how we could come in and design this airport. So I had to be an employee of CAAP, so they would pay me a consultant fee every month. Of course, it's not it's a measly sum, but I believed in Senator Angara's vision for Balair. He loved design, and of course, I rode on that vision also. So the site, there's a current airport airfield on the site. The terminal is actually just a small hut, 2-room hut. So, and of course, being in government, of course, the budgets are always limited, right? And the craftsmanship is always going to be, questionable. So there has to be a way to kind of make this airport the way it should be, the quality that it should be, because airports are kind of gateways, to a province. And so, it's the first thing that everyone goes through before the province. So it has to look really well done. So we had to think of ways how to kind of have a simple design, but at the same time be sort of a gateway, an important gateway, a visual gateway that could be seen from the air and visually be attractive from the air. So knowing airports, just having 4 entrances, the departure, exit, and entrance, and arrival, exit, and entrance. So we worked with those 2 entrances and kind of just defined it by just warping the corners of the roof, and also creating a very high space in the middle where the waiting area is and the arrival area is, right? And to create an image for the roof, right? And the spaces inside, we just made it very simple blocks that are contained under this giant roof, surrounded by glass. And you see the cylinder there in between the pink and green. You have the pink is the where you check in, and the green are the shops in the airport, the bathrooms, and the arrival space is like in that corner, and the middle space is the waiting lobby, and the cylinder is the junction between the arrival, check-in, and the waiting, which we kind of expressed as a sort of a hinge, right? And the administration and offices is on the 2nd floor. Next. So the result of just manipulating the roof, but using very simple technology here: trusses, standing seam metal roof, insulated metal roof, wood ceiling, creates a very distinct image for this airport. Yeah. Next. This is like arrival. So you arrive and you arrive in this really high ceiling space as you take your luggage out. This is the entry, the departure entry. So again, there's a lot of wood that Balair collects from all these lightning strikes from the mountain. So we wanted to take those woods and make it the interior of this airport. And we thought of making this as kind of a system, like an assemblage of systems, building systems, so that there won't be any kind of worker, building or trying to attempt to put a tile on. It's all going to be prefabricated and assembled on site. So to guarantee the precision and the quality of this airport. So in a way, it's it's kind of relating back to what my dad did in the PSID building, right? Fabricating everything out of sight and assembled on site, which is very relevant in today's situation, COVID situation, where you can't have too many workers on site, right? But everything could be fabricated outside in factories and brought to site and assembled, done by technically competent contractors, subcontractors. And the image, of course, I'm not a fan of like making architecture a symbol of something, right? But sometimes the resulting form of the roof, any kind of person would like say, oh, it relates to the mountains of Baler. Oh, it relates to the surfing of Baler. I mean, without me even saying it, but they kind of recognize or they kind of create that kind of relationship. Yeah. So the final project is the Davao Civic Center, which we're currently doing now. It's a new development in Davao. So I think Davao lacks a central building that kind of represents the civic government in Davao. So the developer offered to create this building for Davao. So again, I'm not a fan of symbolism here. So, but I guess sometimes you need to kind of use that to kind of convince the developers and the proponents of this project, and to kind of make it relate to Davao, right? So we chose the waling waling, the national flower of Davao. So I didn't want to kind of represent it literally, but I was more interested in how the sort of the petals or the space made by the petals, the space in between petals. So that was kind of interesting for me to develop as a design. Okay, next. So it's kind of hard to see maybe, but the site, there are actually two sites here. The one in the front where you have the orange kind of blot there is where the civic center is. And the rear is a proposed building that might be LaSalle building, and the idea was to kind of make the civic center also as a shared building by the school, right? So there would be a bridge in between the two buildings, and this civic center has a park in front, a huge park, like a central park in this development. So it's kind of positioned at the end of the park, so it has a nice kind of approach, and it's set against. The park is set against that iconic building. Next. So the spaces are really just function rooms. There's going to be a museum, shops, offices of the civic government. Next. And they're pretty much kind of in between these sort of petals. Next. That's why it has these funny shapes. Okay, next. So it's a kind of a complicated building. The walls had to be supported independently, and they're kind of buttressed. They're buttressing each other, and we have a lot of overlapping roofs, right? Which we use to also insulate the building, because you have this kind of double roof system. Next. So this is like a view of what the structural engineers did for framing. So it's all going to be steel. It's all going to be cladded with insulated metal panel to keep it insulated and easy to cool. Some views of the interior. So we didn't have to design the interior here. So whatever result the petals gonna how we put the petals together, the resulting space made by those petals was the interior, which is surprising. No effort, and we just used it's basically wood, metal, and glass. So it created these very sculptural spaces. And then this animation through. So the site is ongoing. We're waiting for the site to be prepared, and we hopefully we get to start this project this year. So again, we employed a lot of building systems here that would require less people on site. So even if there are strange shapes, there are all like metal panels, acoustic strips, acoustic walls with polished concrete and glass.
Thank you so much, Architect Aldo. It was a very meaningful and very deep.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, and there we have it. Thank you very much, Architect Ed Calma, for that insightful lecture. So personally, what I found most fascinating was the consistent approach of your firm to all of your projects. So that's to say, the thoughtful way that you highlighted the innate qualities and potential of each site. You drew inspiration from the site for each of your design intent. So I found that very interesting. So again, thank you very much, Architect Ed. Now, before we proceed with our question and answer portion, our officers will now be posting the evaluation form link in the Zoom chat. So please be sure to fill this out, as this will serve as your attendance and raffle entry. And also, to those of you who are registered in Zoom, an assessment test will be sent to your email tomorrow to qualify for the CPD point. So at this juncture, we'd like to acknowledge and express our thanks, of course, to our guest lecturer today, but also to our key sponsors. So this event won't be possible without Boysen, Koisen, DMCI Homes, Otis, Adaptive Luxor Solutions, Metalink, Parex, Lixil, iApps Automation, and Lutron. And speaking of which, at this point, let us all welcome Sir Jam Concepcion of Lutron for his brief sponsors presentation.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, architects, thank you so much for having us here. Okay, so just to start off, we are iApps Automation. Our key products are Savant Home Automation and Lutron Lighting and Shading System. So basically, these two products are US brand, designed and manufactured in the US. Next slide, please. Okay, so just to give you an overview of how our system works. So as you can see on your screen, this is a complete home automation, and we can integrate certain aspects of your home, like as you can see, home theater, CCTV, motorized shades, video, of course, lighting control, multi-room music, air conditioning, and automated gates. So probably you're wondering, how will we control all of this? So we basically have two options, the two main options. Next slide, please. Okay, so the first way to control our system is through our app, Savant Pro app. So as you can see, it's a very simple design, easy to use. And as you can see, there's widgets below of that screen. And we will go in depth later on in the presentation. Next slide. Okay, here's the most popular way for our clients to control our system. So too many switches on your wall. So we will be ditching the traditional switching. Gone are the days that you will have 2, 3 more or more on your wall per area. So we will just have the one Lutron keypad per area, as you can see on your right. Next screen. So we have our top two keypads design, Alice and Palladium. Next. So here's a sample of Alice wall controls. So as you can see, it's a elegant design, very simple, and all our keypads will be backlit and customizable. So as you can see, the engraving, it will be customized. And we also comes in different colors and materials. And this is actually the newest keypad design for Philippines. And also you can customize the orientation and the layout. Okay, our most popular design is Palladium keypad. So it also comes in architectural metal. As you can see, next slide, please. Go ahead. And it also comes in clear glass, black and white. So as mentioned, all our keypads are customizable and programmable. And here's some samples of our matte finish, which is a plastic material. So our Palladium keypads also comes in square style or UK style with the same design and material. Comes in metal, glass, and matte finish. So here's a sample of our finished project. As you can see, it complements the design of the interior designer. So gone are the days that they'll try to hide the keypads, and they actually complements their design. Next slide, please. Okay, so another way, as mentioned to you, another way to control our system is through our app. So our app is very simple in design. As you can see, the widgets below. So you can use it on your mobile or you can use it on your iPad. So here's a sample interface. And we will go each segment. So this one is for the lighting control. So as you can see, you're probably wondering how does the keypad communicate or relates to the app. So as you can see on your keypad per area, it will just be mirrored on your app. So usually welcome, movie, music, and goodbye. But on the app, you will have additional capabilities to control each individual light. Okay, next please. So one particular use for you, busy day, just want to turn off the lights from the comfort of your bed. You can do so with our app. So it's very simple, just one click, and then you can use sliders as well for the dimming. So on the same app, you can control your shades or blinds. Lutron does have their own line, and I will share more later. Next slide, please. So here's a sample of the interface controlling shades, Lutron shades. So as you can see, it's a slider, or you can also program it by scenes. Next slide, please. And this is the interface for air conditioning. And you can also have an option to add a schedule, or you can control it remotely. And here's for our audio video control interface. And here's for the music. So if you have Spotify, you can just log in, and then you can control your music. If you have a multi-room music in your home or residence, you have an option to control the volume each room individually. Still on the same app, you're able to view live feed of your CCTV system. So especially for clients that's very particular with security, this will be the best option. Okay, so just to explain how powerful the app is, you can actually create your own scene using just the app. Next, please. So as you can see, you can just toggle along and select whatever combination of whatever we integrated in the system. So to further improve your experience, we do have Savant Pro Remote. Most of our clients will have at least one in their key area. Most of the time will be the entertainment room or the living room. So using this Pro Remote, it's actually the same interface as the app. And we also have Savant Touch, which is our fixed touchscreen, which you can also place it in a key area. Same interface as the app. Okay, as mentioned earlier, we have Lutron. Lutron has their own line of shades and draperies. So Lutron shades and draperies motor is class leading, and it's very simple to use, smooth operation, and very, very silent. Here's some roller shades samples. And as you can see, the quality. Okay. All of this is actually possible because we're using the current Lutron DALI dimming protocol. DALI means Digital Addressable Lighting Interface. So basically, what we do is actually we give all your lighting an IP address. So that's why we're able to or capable to control each light individually. So that concludes my presentation. For more information, please do visit our Facebook and Instagram page, iApps Automation. Thank you so much, guys.
much to Jam of Lutron. So those are some really nice products to consider for lighting and audio control and curtains. And I'm sure your company has a lot of other beautiful products to offer. And so thank you very much for that. And now to introduce our moderator, joining us once again, here is Architect Lito Tabunan. Sir, I think you're muted.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Raya. Our moderator for tonight's event is known for his work in the conservation of two iconic Art Deco buildings, the Metropolitan Theater and the Rizal Memorial Coliseum. He is also a professor at the College of Architecture at the University of the Philippines, Diliman, a multi-awarded author of publications on the Philippine architecture and cultural studies, designer and curator of pioneering exhibitions in the architecture, and producer, director of documentaries on Philippine built environments such as Lunan, Master Builders, and Deco Decoded. He is the author of the Edifice Complex, Power Meet, and Marcos State Architecture 2003, and Arkitekturang Filipino, A History of Architecture and Urbanism in the Philippines 2008, among others. Apart from his academic and professional practice, he held office as head of the National Committee on Architecture and Allied Arts of the National Commission for Culture in the Arts from 2007 to 2013, and as the University Architect of the University of the Philippines from 2008 to 2014. He served also as the Consulting Architect from 2015 to 2018 for the restoration of the Manila Metropolitan Theater, and presently a consulting architect for the city of Valenzuela in the Philippines. Architects, sponsors, and friends of the industries, it is my privilege to introduce to you Architect Gerard Ray A. Lico.
Maraming salamat, no. I was overwhelmed, no, dun sa lecture ni Ed, no. So pinapatunayan lang ni Ed na isa siya sa mga movers and shakers of contemporary art in the contemporary architecture in the Philippines, no. So but in a nutshell, he really acknowledges his father, no, Lord Calma, no, in the way he create, no, spaces and architecture. So the aesthetic practice and the architectural practice are honed, no, by the philosophies of the father, who we know is nominated, no, as national artist in this cycle of the call for national artists. So from New Manila, the New Manila House, tsaka yung PSID building, we see that Lord Calma is really a pioneering modernist architect, no, working in the mid-century context. So, but he defied, no, the cubic volumes and the strictness, no, of the international style to infuse it with something tropical, something transparent. So we saw, no, at the beginning, no, of the lecture how Lore, no, create fluid spaces and how he used the window, no, as a framing device to create, no, a visual access, no, from the interior to the exterior. So somewhat, in the words of Ed, no, somewhat creating a curtain, no, for the window, the curtain in the form of verdant landscape. So we see that, no, in the works of Ed, no, in sa mga sumunod niyang mga projects, so yung of very recent, no. So but iba yung iba yung inflection, no, ng works ni Ed, no. So although merong merong spatially, no, may pagkakahawig sa aesthetic, no, ni Lord Calma, iba sa kanya kasi para sa kanya ang boxes should be broken down, split, no, fragmented, no. So kung si Lore medyo Cartesian at saka Euclidean ng kanyang geometries. Pag sinabi natin Cartesian, ito yung mga XYZ, yung mga boxy, no? May pagka-boxy. Si Ed iba, no? Talagang he is breaking, no? Breaking the boundaries of geometry. So for example, we saw a lot of non-Cartesian geometry. So the formal and compositional strategies are constituted by simple forms yet capable of producing a geometry of a certain instability, dynamism, and somewhat. We saw maraming mga angle, parang there's an orchestrated disorder. Hindi yun hindi yun negative, but it creates some parang dynamic and kinematic sculpturing of space. So medyo subversive siya, pag nakita natin yung di ba maraming folds at saka continuous yung mga yung lines, sinuous, yung mga folds, so subversive siya in how the grids were violated to create fractures, disassembly, and continuous fluid folds and fissures, suggesting spontaneity. So spontaneity, ibig sabihin, may pagka spontaneous, spontaneous, may drama, yung space. So hindi niya nga parang may mga spaces na accidental, because of the ability to fragment spaces. So also gusto ko rin yung sinabi niya na he is anti-semiotic, And when ibig sabihin anti-semiotic, ayaw niya nang gumagamit ng symbol because for him parang nagiging literal or nakakahon ng arkitekto para yung waling-waling, literally mo ita-transcode into geometric form. Hindi yung literal, but how the spaces of the waling-waling, the negative and positive planes, the positive and negative planes interact and interpenetrate. So nakita natin yun doon sa Davao, nakita rin natin doon yung sa airport sa Baler. So anti-semiotic, ibig sabihin ayaw niya nung meron kang isang symbol na figure when you see the building. So nakita rin natin na yung practice ni Ed is highly influenced by the 3D modeling technology, allowing him to create unlimited flights of fancy and creativity, to stretch, fold, wrap three-dimensional forms virtually before executing it in three-dimensional form in what we see as architecture. So we see fluid structures, which we call isomorphic polysurface. Kaya lang ang tanong ko kay napakaganda nga ng mga buildings ni Ed, they are highly expressive pero mukha naman expensive. Yun. Joining me tonight is architect Zamudio, Ria Zamudio and Ed Calma. So we can now open the discussion with your question and answers. Hi.
Right. Hi, sir.
Hi.
Nice one, Gerard. I like the way you can explain things.
So actually, Ed, the first time I wrote about your work was when I did a chapter in the book on SDA, the School of Design and Art of St. Benilde.
Mhm.
I was really amazed. You really defied the context of the place. Diba? At saka diba, ang isip kasi natin sa Lasal, pag Lasal, it's talagang columnar architecture. Here, you proposed a very cutting-edge architecture, And even yung naka-jut out, na plane, may gamit pala siya sa loob, Ano pala siya, slope nung theater.
Amphitheater.
Yeah. So, it was really sabi ko nga dun sa article ko, your work is somewhat a violated perfection. So, hinimay-himay mo yung geometry to create a very exciting form, na talagang pag sumasakay ako ng LRT, lagi kong tinitignan yun talagang ano siya, no? It defies the context, no, of a city, no? Especially yung ano, medyo low-rise yung area, no? So, ano, paano mo ba na ano yun? How do you arrive at that geometry, no, in that context, no, of B2 Cruz?
Yeah. Well, the site, it's so you can only see the building from just one parcel of lote, right? And so the only place that you could do a statement like that, yung theater, would be on that space. But I got a lot of flack not using that space because that's the most expensive space that they had. But I didn't use it. I used it as a driveway. Right? So, but the geometry of that whole school came out from just I guess expressing every volume or every function that the school had. The cafeteria had its own form. The theater had its own form. And then the row of classrooms was a straight bar, kind of sort of a datum bar that the cafeteria and the theater were connected to. The interior was I mean, since a design school, it had something to do with what a design school should be, where all these departments are kind of being able to mix into the spaces, the common spaces in between. So that's where your mind gets filtered or expanded by other design disciplines. But they meet there in those spaces. So they become exhibit spaces.
Yeah. I think I'd have to agree, sir, with what Architect Gerard mentioned. So actually, I'm also a product of Benilde.
So the restrictions actually kind of come. I really play on those restrictions.
Kasi ano, nakita namin, no, even yung mga boulders, yung mga limitation and constraints of the site, instead na ano siya, na negative siya, nagiging feature siya, nagiging focal point ng ano, no, ng geometry, no, of your work.
Like my dad's works that way. I mean, he's very consistent. He works with the site. He doesn't want to bulldoze everything and have a clear perfect site where he can build whatever. But the nuances on the site creates a new really distinct architecture.
Curious lang ako, Ed, paano ka nag-generate ng form? Kasi kami sa school, no, sa school, yung mga estudyante namin, hindi naman lahat marunong gumamit ng digital media. So what we do is we just fold papers, no? 'Di ba? Kasi yan yung yan yung device namin to teach student. Ikaw, paano nagugupit ka ba ng mga papel muna?
Yeah, we use vignette, yung model vignettes, mga small models, maquettes na we play. And then let's say the ceiling, okay, they have a certain ceiling, we kind of fold it to respond to certain ductwork or window or acoustic need. So, those come into play, very, very practical, common things that you encounter in designing. But we're just more free in kind of forming it. We're not kind of set, okay, it should be like this, should be like that. But we don't have any preconceptions. We just kind of, I kind of learned these kind of manipulations through, of course, I grew in the deconstructive age, when after postmodernism, deconstruction was the thing then during the 80s, right? Peter Eisenman, Daniel Libeskind, which and of course sila Peter and Carlos were also in that kind of mode of
yung mga architects natin, hindi lahat alam kung ano yung deconstruction. So deconstruction is actually derived from a linguistic paradigm, no? So for architecture, it's like breaking apart something, no, to ascertain its failure when it is still in whole. So sometimes theoretically parang papasabugin mo yung isang object tapos ibubuin mo uli siya tapos you will reflect, no, on how that building existed before. So iibahin mo yung yung order niya, no? So that is deconstruction. So si Ed is one of the pioneers in Philippine deconstructivist movement. Tama ba ako, Ed?
Before, yeah. But I kind of got tamed down na.
Oo nga, no? So a lot of skews, no? Walang no? Non-orthogonal. So pag non-orthogonal, halos lahat walang perpendicular, walang grid.
Walang right angles.
Yeah, walang right angles. Yeah.
Oraya, may tanong ka pa.
Okay, so I think we can take a few of the questions from our Zoom chat. And so we have a question here from Mark Zara. So his question is, has there been a change in the way you think about architecture, space, and place when you started compared to your firm's latest works? Are there any key idea generators when you start on a certain project? And so that's a very great question.
The starting key idea generator. Yeah, I just, whatever comes out, in the first thought that comes out, that's what I build on. So of course there are, I used to have a lot of good people in the office. Mark Zara is one of them. He was part of St. Benilde. He did the model of St. Benilde actually.
Oh wow.
So I kind of also
Mark
rely
pala
on
yun.
their breaking, right?
Classmate ko si Mark.
Really? Oh, okay. Mel Lao, so really creative.
Si
Mel, yeah, very
Mel Lao.
Very creative. Yeah, so yun, yung mga if someone posts an idea, then I play on that, or sometimes we use that and we kind of filter it a bit. But yeah, the ideas really come from everywhere. We never, but looking at the site and whatever just pops out from my mind, that's what we take it and develop it. The Mind Museum was the same way. The form of it, although it was from the study of the wind in that area. There was a wind study that the engineers did. We put a weather station there, and there was like wind studies, and then it was interesting to see what those wind studies were. Right, very sinuous nga. So the form of the Mind Museum was derived from that, from those wind studies, and also like a software that developed kind of a cellular structure inside, parang a bubble structure inside that kind of organized the spaces. See, Charles Wee was the one who kind of discovered that. So yeah, it's a real mixture of many different ideas from other people in the office, and just putting it together in one space. I mean, I had a professor like that who actually trained us that way. See, Hani Rashid, because the school, I mean, the studio was about having, 10 architects kind of working together to create one box, right? But that box had several ideas in them. So you kind of had to negotiate each other's ideas and try to kind of meet them together. Like it's like the artist game called Exquisite Corpse, the surrealist game called Exquisite Corpse, which is like each artist would kind of draw something, fold it, and then pass it on to another artist, but that other artist would not know what he drew, and then he would draw another form connecting to the other artist, and then so it would be passed into around the table, and then after you unfold it, and you have an incredible form.
Oh, we actually had a game like that, sir, in our childhood, but I never knew what it was called. So, yun pala po yung pangalan niya, Exquisite Corpse. Okay.
It's also a model of how a city should be designed. Diba? It's how our city is kind of modeled after. Of course, not done by artists.
So there's another question here, Ed. What is your favorite among your past projects, and how you derive the outcome design idea? So how do you derive it?
Well, the ideas, a lot of projects. We did a lot of projects, a lot of competitions that we never won, but we keep those ideas in the back of our heads. We make it as part of our library. So when we see a project, the next project, and then we think of that idea now we did in one project, and then we see that it could be applied to this one. We use it, right? So we have a storage of a lot of ideas, unbuilt structures, competitions that we joined that we lost, that we recycle.
Okay, so there's an interesting comment ba to or question. So you were branded as the architect of the rich and famous personalities. So
yeah,
so arkitekto ka ng mayayaman. So do you accept pro bono projects? So do you have projects devoted to civic or to the people, kasi may notion kasi na masyadong pang-elite yung mga works mo. Hindi masyado na appreciate ng common tao.
Yeah. Well, yung Balay Airport was I was an employee of CAAP. I was receiving a salary, like an engineer salary there, just so that we could do that project. And of course, there's a lot of religious institutions that asked us to do a study. Yung Sacred Heart was one of them. That was always pro bono. Actually, there were a lot. We allocate talaga a certain, part of our office for these groups that couldn't afford design, but they asked me, and I'm as long as they're open, they're not restrictive. I would complete. I would not.
Meron naman palang public service. Hindi naman puro pang elitista si Ed.
Yeah. And I've done houses that are 15 million. I don't know if that's an elitist house. 250 square 400 square meter house. I don't know if that's
Ayan. Ayan. So, sir, we have another question from architect John Marquez. So he asks, in your projects, are your designs mostly implemented with minimal changes, or are there downgrades due to budget concerns?
Yeah,
so common problem siya.
Yeah, that's a common problem. Especially working with developers, it's always going to be value engineered. But at least they ask, right? But I don't mind value engineering it. as long as they ask me, they don't kind of override me. Because sometimes, there are developers, once you give them the design, they kind of run away with it and they never talk to you anymore. But there are other developers who kind of course, has a budget and they want to still work with you and still come up with a good quality work in the end. So it's always like that. It's never gonna be, it's never gonna disappear. The value engineering, you just have to work with it.
In line with that, Sir Ed, so you mentioned earlier that in every design decision that you make, there's always rhyme and reason. So there's a methodical and logical approach to your designs. However, some may still consider it as unconventional, especially here in the Philippines. So how do you usually convince clients who are wary with those kinds of designs? How do you convince them to take more risks?
I cannot convince them. I think people who go to me, they know that they know my work, but a lot of them they don't. They stay away.
Okay.
They know already that, oh, it's too expensive or it's too complicated. But some, they come to me expecting that I would deliver something different. The Davao Civic Center was an example. I can't believe that they wanted to do that. Normally they won't. They just like a simple, but they wanted a new image for Davao. They said this will be a flower in the sea of boxy buildings. So there are projects like that. So, but what's important is you just stick to what you really want to do, and somebody crazy enough, like, out there would have the same, interest. I know. I started also the same way. Parang my first project was my sister's house in BF Homes. And once we did it and it was published, a lot of people called me after that publication. Her house was just a small house. She was newly married, and we did the house. The house was in the back of the in-laws' garage, right? So it was a small 150 square meter house, 2-story, but we made it like a marble wall that was translucent, and the space inside was just simple concrete and paint, but it was very striking.
So there's a follow-up question from Louis Lim. No? Have you ever compromised to your client's will to change some part of your design, especially those you don't agree with? So meron bang mga modification na inintroduce yung client na ayaw mo pero nakipag-compromise ka?
Yeah, all the time. I compromise. In fact, my clients always say, "Oh, you're so flexible." But of course, the general idea is there. They can change a few things, a few details here and there. I know one, they wanted to change the whole room to be pink because she's into pink and with leaves, which is completely out of my style. But as long as the interiors, details, small things can always change through time, but the architecture will remain. The structure will remain. The structure, they have no idea how to alter, but the small surface features they can alter, the color they can alter, but they cannot alter the structure, which is very important to me. The structure and the architecture has to be it. Parang if you strip it off with finish, with paint, with whatever, the structure has to look, architecture.
Yes. So essentially, the skeleton of the project has to have integrity in its character.
Yeah, it has to have that design idea.
So kailangan nandun pa rin yung signature mo. Kahit yung interior, kulay pink na, basta yung form attributed sa'yo. So yung the authenticity, the integrity is still there.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so we have another question here.
May isang magandang question dito, no? Ed, how do you respond, no? to the COVID-19, no? Paano ka design, no? For example, in a post-pandemic scenario, how will you design a building?
Well, now we're working. We're all working online, and I actually like it. I mean, we meet this way, and I travel with my iPad. I sketch things. I model things in the office, and then I just leave it there, and then they pick up. So for me, it's okay. I don't mind working this way. In fact, it's less stressful for me to be isolated. But we communicate through technology, Teams.
Yes. And also, I think you mentioned earlier, Sir Ed, about how you've adapted to the COVID-19 situation when it comes to the construction process. So,
That's right.
Prefabrication.
prefabrication.
Yeah.
Apo.
Less
That's
laborers
I think
on
that
site.
contractors have to learn that, how to do a lot of things outside. In Germany, when we did the Philippine Pavilion in Germany, I saw that how they figured out everything in paper, right? And then when contractors moved in, they were, one contractor would come in, do their stuff, and then they would leave exactly the stub outs where the next contractor would come and connect their other thing. So it was synchronized. It was well figured out. I mean, of course, Germans are like that. The Japanese were also like that when we did the Aichi.
Yeah, sounds like a very intelligent way to approach construction.
I think that's the only way. You cannot rely on. I mean, we're still in the. I guess Corbusier structures, yung kay mga Louis Kahn, we're still in that, yung scaffold, bamboo with a lot of workers on site finishing everything. But nowadays it should be more assembly.
Okay. So thank you very much,
There's another
sir.
question, last question I think, no. So ito na, maganda to, no. Kay Christine Baltasar, what are the challenges did you encounter in the Baler Airport, no, when it comes to combining your vision as an architect and the desire of the stakeholders, no, like CAAP?
Yeah. Well, without the influence of Senator Angara, I wouldn't have made it. I would have just maybe walked out. But Senator Angara had strict instructions to follow whatever I put in there. But of course, I'm very conscious about their budget. That's a strict budget that we need to comply with it. So I would help them look for building technologies, products that could fit the budget, and then I would help in the research of building systems. And the systems that we're using are not so specialized. It's a common. The materials that we're using there are very commonplace, but it's just the way it was designed that makes it look different, right? Looking more expensive. My dad would always say that. I mean, he's always boasting, I mean, his house itself. I mean, it's all made from scraps, recycled
mamahalin.
Yeah, mga scraps na from other projects. Like his marble came from a project, yung mga sobrang slabs from one project, and he said, "Okay, bilhin ko na lang yan." And ito na lang.
Yung mga
The wood was
retaso,
from
no?
parquet. It's a parquet floor from the waste of all the furniture from the furniture factory. It's very
Ed, ang dami pa natin pwede mapag-usapan, no? Pero wala na tayong time. So, what is your message, no, sa mga estudyante, sa mga aspirants sa architectural profession? What is your message to them, no? Na sa tingin ko, marami sa kanila ina-idolize ka.
Well, thanks. Well, you have to really learn the tools of the trade, the design tools, the tools. You have to master those tools, and you have to keep constantly working on your I think you discover a lot of things when you start working. it's not something na it just comes. It's not a gift. It's something that you really work on. I know, like, I know a lot of things now than even 5 years ago. I'm still constantly learning, but just knowing the tools, how to build. I think I see a lot of problems in architecture students not knowing how to build, or are just clueless of material characteristics, and then how you build things, how you kind of elegantly build things. And then also looking at other people's work. I was very fortunate to see a lot of the like Louis Kahn's building, yung Salk Institute, the British Art Museum, and because he revealed all the building systems and then how they are kind of put together. So it's not hidden under finished walls or finished ceilings, but they express the way it was built. And of course, theory plays a lot of, the theory of building, the history of tectonics of Kenneth Frampton really displays, talks about historically how concrete is expressed, how brick is expressed, how wood is expressed through the years. Just knowing those things already populate your mind on how to do things.
Yun. So narinig natin the fundamentals of building, the architectonics of materiality, and then learn from masters like yeah. So Ria?
Ayan. So thank you very much, Sir Ed, for gracing us in our first event for the year. So before we end the Q&A, I believe Sir Gerard, you highlighted some of Sir Ed's works in your book. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, no. So Ed is one of the key figures in contemporary Philippine architecture. So you can read further the works of Ed Calma in my new book, Arkitekturang Filipino: A History of Architecture and the Built Environment in the Philippines. So in chapter 9, we narrated the history of contemporary architecture. Deconstruction, nandun si Ed at saka yung mga blobbytecture. Okay, so bagong discussion with theoretical framings and also it's available on Shopee. Mura lang. 2 volumes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sir Gerard and Sir Ed. Okay. So
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ed.
Thanks.
Yes. All right. So we're very honored to have you both in our event today. But at this juncture, we will now end the Q&A, and we will be presenting you with our plaques of appreciation. All right. So firstly, the United Architects of the Philippines Makati chapter presents this plaque of appreciation to architect Jose Eduardo G. Calma, UAP, principal designer and architect of Lore Calma and Partners. This January 2022 general membership meeting with the theme Global Competitiveness, Thinking Future Innovations, Design Process. Given this 29th of January 2022 by architect Luis Nicanor Villaguirre, FUAP AA, UAP Makati Chapter President, fiscal year 2021 to 2022, and by architect Abdul Rafi Deron M. Pangandaman, UAP, UAP Makati Chapter Secretary, fiscal year 2021 to 2022.
Thank you.
And up next, the United Architects of the Philippines Makati chapter presents this plaque of appreciation to architect Jared A. Lico, PhD, UAP, of Architect Lico Consulting Services Corporation, Principal Architect, for serving as moderator in today's event. With the theme Global Competitiveness, Thinking Future Innovations and Design Process, given this 29th of January 2022. So thank you very much, Sir Gerard.
Maraming salamat.
All right, so that was a very engaging discussion together with Architect Ed and Architect Gerard. And we hope we can have you in our future events. So again, to all of our participants, don't forget to fill out the evaluation form, which will serve as your attendance and raffle entry. The link will be posted in the Zoom chat right now. And also, to those of you who are registered in Zoom, an assessment test will be sent to your email tomorrow to qualify for the CPD point. Ayan. And now for the CSR updates, please welcome Architect Lito Tabuldan.
Hello, everyone. Okay. With our generous sponsors from Metal Link, we were able to donate 100 pieces roofing sheet for the Typhoon Typhoon Odette, which will be sent to Cebu with our beneficiaries from affected Typhoon Odette. Thank you. Thank you for your generous support, Metal Link, and please continue to support our CSR projects.
All right. Thank you very much, Architect Lito. And thank you very much to MetalLink for your donations. And once again, we hope everyone is still awake, and we hope that everyone was inspired with today's talk. So napakaganda po ng topic natin today about innovation and design. So now's the moment some of our members have been waiting for, our raffle. So may I now call on Architect Sofia Eusebio to facilitate the raffle. So please stay with us because you might just win one of our prizes.
Good evening, architects.
Ano email? Sandali mo sa raffle na.
Hi, Sophia. All right, so please be reminded that only the members of UAP Makati will be eligible for the raffle prizes. Okay, thank you.
Good evening, architects. So we'll now proceed to one of the most exciting part of the program, the raffle. So for today, we'll be having raffle coming from our generous sponsor, IAPS. So, Architect Ray, ano po ba yung mga ating raffle prizes for tonight?
So, ito na nga, Architect Sophia. Ang ipaparaffle natin for tonight is two JBL Bluetooth speakers and 3 JBL Bluetooth headsets.
Ayan. So, very exciting today kasi meron tayong headsets and speakers again from our sponsor, IAPS. We'd like to thank you, IAPS, and to all our generous sponsors for tonight. So, wag na nating patagalin. Architect Ray, ano nga ulit ang una nating ipaparaffle?
So, ang una nating ipaparaffle for tonight is the 3 JBL headsets. So, Sir Miggy, let's spin the wheel. Okay, so congratulations, Architect Ignacio Alan Benedict Condo Santos Diaz. Hello, Architect. Are you still here?
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, congratulations,
Okay.
sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Buhay ang UAP Makati chapter.
Congratulations, Architect. Architect Ray.
And then, for the second winner, Sir Miggy, let's spin the wheel.
Another headset from IAP.
Okay, congratulations, Architect Christopher Lely.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Now, for our third and last winner of the JBL headset, Sir Miggy, let's spin the wheel. Okay, so congratulations, Architect Marlo Anthony Burgos.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ayan,
congratulations,
Thank
sir.
you. Congratulations, Architect. Ayan, so congratulations again to 3 winners of JBL headsets. Now let's move on to our next prizes. We will be having 2 JBL speakers again from our generous sponsors, iApps. So, wag nang patagalin. Sir Miggy, let's spin the wheel. Ayan, congratulations, Architect Cherise Panganiban.
Thank you.
Ayan, present. Thank you, Architect. Congratulations.
Congrats, Architect.
Congratulations. And again, on to our last prize. Again, another JBL speaker from iApps. Sir Miggy, let's spin the wheel. Congratulations, Architect Mark Glenn Maglahos. Am I correct? Architect Mark, you're still here.
Hello, are you still there, sir?
Kindly say present po, Architect. Going once. Going twice. 5, 4,
3, 2,
1. So, ipaparoleta ulit natin.
Yes,
so,
let's
Sir
pick a winner
Miggy, spin
again.
the wheel. Architect Katie
Kawayan.
Kanayan. Am I correct?
Kitli Kawayan. Architect.
Kawayan.
Yes.
Architect Kawayan, you're still here po.
Yes po.
Congratulations,
Ayan,
Architect.
present. Congratulations. Ayan, to wrap up, congratulations to all the winners for tonight's program. Thank you all for joining, and to all our sponsors and to our sponsors for tonight, iApps. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you. Thank you very
Congratulations
much.
again.
Congratulations to all the winners.
All right. So thank you very much once again to all of our sponsors for today, and also to Architect Sophia and Architect Ray for facilitating the raffle. Ayan. And of course, congratulations to all of our winners. And before anything else, we would also like to congratulate our new architecture board passers for this month. Ayan. So, galing, di ba? Well done to all of you. Make sure to invite your friends to join UAP Makati. Also, we would like to invite everyone to join our GMM on February. So, please follow our FB pages for further announcements. Ayan. And with that, for the closing remarks, let us all welcome once again Chapter President, Architect Luis Nicanor V. Aguirre.
Dear friends, and a great way to kick off the new year. Firstly, I would like to sincerely thank everyone in attendance, our members and past presidents, guests, and of course, our incredible speaker and moderator. We appreciate you all for gracing the first of our chapter's many events for 2000. Count on you to support the rest of our undertakings. Tonight, after listening to the presentation and exchange of thoughts, I know many of us now have a renewed sense of hope for the future of our profession. On behalf of the Makati chapter, I would also like to thank our media partner, It's Happening PH, and our generous sponsors, Boysen, Huisen, DMCI Homes, Otis, Adaptive Lock Source Solutions, Metalink, Parex, Lixil, and of course, IAPS Automation. Once again, a happy new year to us all. With this, I am officially closing the 4th General Membership Meeting of UAP Makati. Diyos mabalos! Viva Arkitektura!
Viva! Ayan. So thank you very much, Architect Titus. Now, before we go, may we please request everyone to turn on your cameras for our final group photo. So this is for our documentation. Please smile, everyone. And you can also use the Zoom background that we've provided. Ayan. So let's go through each page. And so for the first page, smile. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then for the second page. Okay, so wear your best smiles. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, and then for our third page. Okay, so please smile. All right, 1, 2, 3. And finally, for our fourth page. Okay, so 3, 2, 1. And okay, so there we have it. All right, thank you so much, everyone. All right, and that concludes our 4th GMM. Again, you would like to thank everyone who participated tonight, all of our attendees and partners, and of course, our incredible guest speaker and moderator. So we hope to see you all again very soon. I'm Raya Zamudyo. Good night, everyone, and happy weekend.
Haner?
Si Wanda? Ano? Ha? No? Ay, magtago ka.
Ano? Bakit? Haner? Haner? Namiss mo ba ako?
Bakit ang may girl, lalo? May number 2 ka. Wala, Han. Wala akong number 2. Number 2?
Oo. Saan yung sinasabi mong number 2?
Sorry, Han.
Talong number 2 sa number 1.
Celso, naya ka na.
Ang dami na nagbago sa mundo. Buti ka pa, hindi ka nagbabago.
Ay, salamat! Naya na rin ako!
Sino ka?
Ako si Jennifer, ang iyong genie. Mag-wish ka, Celso! Gusto mo ba ng food? How about drinks? Gusto mo ba ng travel abroad? Gusto mo ba ng girls? O baka boys? Joke! Anong gusto mo?
Gusto kong bumata uli. Bumalik sa panahong 20 years ago.
Masusunod. Eto ka.
Bumata uli ako! Bakit nakakulong uli ako? Bumalik nga ako ng 20 years ago.
Boysen Bug Off is a new water-based anti-insect paint scientifically proven to kill disease-causing insects. When insects get in contact with the painted surface, the inert microscopic crystals set in the paint's layer attack the nervous system of insects, while humans remain unharmed. Boysen Bug Off is safe for humans. It's non-toxic and non-invasive, each coat lasting up to 2 years. Boysen Bug Off.
Oikos started in 1984 in Italy. First thing they had in mind was to create an industrial product that's sustainable and healthy for the environment. When Oikos produces their materials, they make sure there are no solvents that are harmful to humans. They take out the formaldehyde that usually seen in some of the paint products that you see out there. They're also, by the way, certified by HACCP with an A+ grading. So it says a lot about the products that Oikos produces. This is an example of our Carmen Epeto Moire finish. It does give a little bit of that iridescent finish or sheen that you see, so it really livens up any space. The Travertino Romano, on a very industrial look finish. You can put this in a very high traffic area, such as hallways, stairwells, because it has the abrasion resistant as well as the impact resistant. This is another product line that we have called Encanto. This is a sandy metallic finish which has different kinds of potential textures that you can recreate. As an accent piece, it's actually a great finish material to use. They believe in the LCA, the life cycle assessment, right from the procurement of the material. How it's going to be manufactured safely, how it's going to be distributed to the seller and then to the end user, and all the way up to even removing the paints eventually and recycling them and reusing them. So the full 360 is what Oikos really considers, and that's what makes it sustainable. I'm inviting anybody who's very interested in using Oikos. Please visit us here in LRI Design Plaza. And you also may visit our website, www.oikos-paint.ph.